we are joining you on the morning of the President's fourth State of the Nation address. And joining us now for a closer look at what to expect from President Marcos's fourth SONA is political analyst Aries Arugay. He is the chairman of the UP Diliman Department of Political Science. Magandang umaga sa'yo.
Magandang umaga, Gretchen.
Okay, Professor, let's first set the context of the President's SONA. This is happening after first a disastrous midterm election result for the administration. Second is this comes after the Supreme Court just struck down an impeachment complaint against the president's primary political enemy. And the third important context is this comes after a string of typhoons and a lot of flooding around us. I mean, how important is this fourth SONA?
Yes, this is indeed the fourth SONA of President Marcos Jr. So if we're looking at his 6-year term, this is exactly at midpoint, midterm. And what you have mentioned is the political context, and that is something that is not fulfilling the campaign promise of Marcos Jr. and the unity team, which is political unity. So instead of political stability, we have instability and borderline institutional crisis given the Supreme Court and the ongoing impeachment process of the Vice President. Gretchen, you haven't mentioned the economy because I was reviewing the previous 3 SONAs of President Marcos Jr., and he always starts with the economy. And unfortunately, many of the economic gains or promises that he has made during his presidential campaign and during the first 3 SONAs remain to be unfulfilled. So you're correct. The weather might be indicative of not only the political storm that the country is facing, but also the very inclement economic conditions, despite certain positive developments. But tama ka, no? Mukhang yung panahon nakikibagay dun sa totoong kondisyon ng bansa natin sa ngayon.
Mm-hmm. What tone do you expect from President Marcos? I mean, people now expect to see results after his 3 years in office. What tone do you expect, especially with the clarity in political lines?
Right. The tone should be something that should show active leadership, decisive leadership, leadership that Filipinos want at this point in our country. And the type of leadership that is expected of a presidential candidate who was able to get a majority of the electorate. Let's remember, only Marcos Jr. was able to do this. No other president was able to get more than 50% of the vote in the presidential elections. So the expectations are great, but whether or not this can be fulfilled, we're already halfway. Kumbaga, hindi na natin mababalik yung past 3 years. So it's a SONA that should be forward-looking, should be a SONA that should communicate a clear message that this president is that the president and his government is under control and is still supposedly on track in fulfilling the great expectations that it has set up for itself.
Siguro kaya naramdaman din ng administrasyon yung pressure to bring on the 20 peso rice promise in any way it could. I mean, right now it is in the Kadiwa stores, definitely heavily subsidized, and knowing that, no, it could go away anytime. But if you take a look at the economy, as you mentioned, inflation is currently down. Despite the setbacks, it is down from 5.82 in 2022, 5.98 in 2023, to 3.21 in 2024. We are seeing year-to-date inflation at 1.8% average for May to June of 2025. Do you think that people realize this, that inflation has gone down and there's some sort of an improvement in the economy?
Yes, Gretchen, these numbers seem to be great, right? A very low inflation of 1.8%. But um, to quote the uh, President Marcos's mother, the former First Lady Imelda Marcos, perceptions are real. The truth is not. So even if we have these numbers, the key question is whether they are felt by ordinary Filipinos. And there are surveys that indicate that the government still has to do a lot in terms of addressing inflation. It's still the most pertinent, most important issue that is faced by Filipinos, a majority of Filipinos. And so far, their assessment of the government's efforts there leaves much to be desired to the performance. And yung kadiwa, I think it should go beyond being symbolic because at the moment, I do think it is only benefiting a very small minority of the population. So while the government can say that, oh, look, we were already able to fulfill 20 peso kilo rice, but during the campaign in 2022, the promise was that it will be available for everyone, not just for a handful or less than 10% of Filipinos.
Well, perception is indeed king when it comes to this. And at the heart of that is the communication strategy of the president. Do you think there is, an improvement somehow in communications or medyo talagang nahihirapan pa rin? Where is the president going wrong and where is he going right?
Right. What the key question to ask is what is the purpose of communication? Is it really to broadcast or to communicate the truth? Is it to manage perceptions? Is it to conjure falsehoods or I think or create images that is not really reflective of realities? Politically, we've seen certain developments in the communication strategy of Malacanang, of the government, though it seems to be more combative given the dissolution of the unity. And the rhetoric seems to be that it is fighting fire with fire in addressing the negative comments towards the administration. But Gretchen, let's remember, this government campaigned, or at least President Marcos Jr., when he was running for president, wanted to end politics. So therefore, channeling energies purely on communication and being able to just manage and combat trolls are insufficient, and it remains to be seen whether this communication really reflects accomplishments or really good performance rather than just merely performing uh, gains and objectives. Kasi sa amin sa political science may notion ng performativity, meaning you don't really work, you just, uh, show people or communicate the message that you are quote unquote working when through visuals, through images, through rhetoric, but whether or not it is really concrete remains to be seen.
Well, the president did try to send a stronger message. After the midterm elections, he asked for the resignation of all of his cabinet secretaries. Pero sa dulo, parang tatlo lang yung talagang major characters doon na napalitan. That is, of course, the Solicitor General Minardo Guevara, Housing Secretary Jerry Acuzar, DENR Secretary Tony Loizaga. Yung iba na nalipat pa sa iba pang departamento. What do you think about that strategy? The president keeping his economic team intact, yun yung unang announcement na ginawa niya, and then removing three major figures in his administration.
Right. Many thought that the supposed cabinet revamp would really be something substantive, but you're correct. In the end, it didn't really materialize into major movements, and therefore, we expect that with very minor changes, this is still a status quo cabinet, a status quo economic team, and therefore, in economics, may notion ng sunk investment. It seems like the Marcos Jr. administration is, or at least President Marcos, is not risking any changes because this is the team that he has already created for his government. So therefore, it remains to be seen whether this team will really deliver. Because in the end, if it does not, then the cabinet revamp really was not really fulfilling the supposed expectation.
Do you think the political dramas overshadowed much of this administration's work? And do you think that the president should talk about anything surrounding the impeachment? Malacanang has already said through Claire Castro that it does not agree. It disagrees with the Supreme Court's ruling.
Yes, because supposedly this government, when it came to power in 2022, sought to rise above partisan politics. Supposedly, the unity is to end politicking. But after just a couple of years, we're back to politicking. It's as if we're going back again to that time. Remember in 25 years ago in the Estrada impeachment, and then every year there was an impeachment complaint filed against then President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. Is this like Groundhog Day? Are we going year by year having this political instability and elite infighting that has no direct impact to the lives of ordinary Filipinos? So of course, the Supreme Court decision seems to have overshadowed this SONA. No, in terms of the news cycle, Gretchen, if you notice, the SONA today seems to be an afterthought because most of media and everyone is still commenting on the impeachment process. So, in other words, the Dutertes and Sara Duterte seem to have hijacked the news
Much of the
cycle
spotlight.
away from supposedly what is to happen today, which is the fourth SONA of President Marcos Jr.
What do you think he should focus on in this fourth SONA? What achievements can he harp on at this point?
I've mentioned this last year that the best SONA is a true SONA. So if the president should tell the truth, should simply tell the people what is the true state of the nation, I think Filipinos have what it takes to accept whatever truth will come out, because while the truth may hurt, at least it will set up the necessary process for us to all move forward. Second, I think it should be a forward-looking SONA. It should be something that should catalyze unity, even if we see disunity and a lot of unnecessary infighting among our powerful political leaders at the moment, at the expense of all of us who don't have power. And third, I think it should clearly indicate what still can be done with the remaining years of the Marcos Jr. administration, and somehow rally not only the direct audience, which is the members of the 20th Congress, but Filipinos at large, that this government is still under control, is in control of the country, that this government, it means business, that it is willing to work in the remaining years, it has seriousness of purpose, and that it should not be distracted with political noise and undue criticism from political actors. And finally, that it should not engage in unnecessary politicking, because while we all can walk and chew gum at the same time, this government needs to have laser sight focus on realizing the many campaign promises that President Marcos has promised when he ran for president in 2020.
Well, one of those promises is the Build Better More promise, with nearly 9 trillion worth of infrastructure projects approved. With what you're seeing now, do you think they are delivering on this end? We do see improvements at the NAIA, napag-uusapan din syempre ngayon yung flood control system natin, which senators and many lawmakers are questioning saan napunta yung pera. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, sinabi rin ni DPWH Secretary na they have at least 5,000 projects that they have already finished in terms of flood control, pero most of them are to give immediate relief to those affected by floods.
Gretchen, nandun na tayo, no? I think in terms of flood control projects, in terms of funding, it's quite clear that the government has invested on this. But the presence of flood control projects cannot be the barometer on whether or not they're effective. And the question remains whether these projects really address the problem at hand. And at the moment, there seems to be they seem to be insufficient. Meaning, there needs to be a new ways and new approaches of dealing with the effects of climate change and the effects of these uncertain weather patterns that goes beyond simply flood control, because we've heard the scientists and the climatologist. Flood control might just be a band-aid fix, but what is really needed is some forward strategic thinking about how we can rescue urban centers like Manila, because we might have a lot of flood control mechanisms, but if overcapacity and in terms of climate change mitigation, we're not addressing those, then it's not really a holistic approach to the problem at hand.
Last year, he got a standing ovation on announcing the POGO ban. Do you expect the same with online gambling? Do you think he will announce his policy on this, or is it not too popular of a move? What is your read on that?
Well, the debate on this needs to be weighed accordingly, because it seems like the government is relying on the moral element, meaning that last year that pogos are bringing in crime, bringing in unnecessary suffering for ordinary Filipinos. If this will be the same approach as online gambling, this might be again highly limited, because if you're going to ban online gambling and not really address actors or entities that benefit from it, therefore you might ban it at the rhetorical level, but in the Philippines, when you ban something, there are always exceptions to the rule. So the problem is really implementation. And banning this on the basis of simply getting a standing ovation, I think, should be the least factor to be considered, but should be evidence-based and should be studied carefully to what extent this is really disadvantageous and have negative impacts to our society.
Okay. I guess the final question here is, if you were to advise the president on which path he should take, he does have 3 years left as president, and one would think that he think about the years after that. I mean, his own survival in this climate, knowing that he already made a lot of enemies with the Duterte arrest, with his policies on going after policemen in the drug war. Ano kaya ang may aasahan natin? Do you think the president will go full throttle on these policies, or do you expect him to take a step back, to relax a bit on how he has dealt with their political enemies?
Gretchen, when President Marcos Jr. assumed power, the notion was that it was a restoration of the Marcos family, meaning that this, and in fact even members of their family said that they are lucky to be given this second chance. So therefore, and indeed, it is really quite fortunate for the Marcos family to be able to go back to power, even despite what history has rendered and has taught all of us. So therefore, if I am President Marcos Jr., I think I would clearly think that this is not just about me. It's about the legacy of the Marcos family, and think heavily and think seriously how history will judge them. History has already judged them, but sabi ko nga, they're very lucky to be given a second chance to be rejudged, reevaluated. And therefore, the burden is that in the remaining 3 years, how will they create this legacy, so much so that history will judge them differently this time. It's a huge burden, huge responsibility, but after all, they are the ones who volunteered to come back to power. They were not forced to do this. No one's forcing them, and therefore they have every choice in ensuring that this time around that they will leave a legacy that will not leave a bitter taste in the mouths of Filipinos.
Well said, well said. And he has 3 years to shape that legacy and that narrative. In the meantime, we await the President's fourth of the State of the Nation address. Maraming salamat to our political analyst, Professor Aries Arugay, for joining us today and weighing in.
Thank you.